Hello, all my wonderful trailblazers. Today we're diving into the 3.2 Memory of Chaos and 3.3 Apocalyptic Shadow and Pure Fiction. So let's break it all down. Now for the Memory Turbulence overview. This version's Memory Turbulence gives a huge boost to your team. All allies get skill level +3, and if you're using a memo sprite, its skill level goes up by +2. On top of that, whenever any character uses a skill or a memo sprite skill, a random attacked enemy gains one random weakness they didn't already have, and at the beginning of each cycle, Turbulence also deals true damage to all enemies once. If they have more than 3 weaknesses, they take extra true damage for each one beyond that. Anaxa, Boot Hill, and Firefly will shine this MoC. Let's take a look at the first area. For Wave 1, you'll be facing Pollux, Netherwing Husk, Fairy of Souls. Each phase has a massive 2.7 million HP, and there are 2 phases total. Their weaknesses are Wind, Quantum, and Imaginary. Prepare for a grindy fight. If you own her, Castoris would definitely be the choice here. Now on to the second area, which comes in 2 waves. For Wave 1, you'll be fighting 2 Blaze out of space, which are weak to Physical, Ice, and Quantum, and then 1 Disciples of Sanctus Medicus, Shapeshifter, which are weak to Ice, Wind, and Imaginary. This wave is where the turbulence really shines. For Wave 2, we have the Wonder Forest's Banacademic Office Staff. They come with over 3.3 million HP per phase, and yes, there are 2 phases. They're weak to Fire, Ice, Lightning, and Imaginary. If you own them, of course, I would recommend bringing your Thirda team, Rappa team, or Acheron team. That's everything for this cycle's MoC. Let me know how far you think you'll be pushing this MoC. Moving on to the next Apocalyptic Shadow for 3.3. The bosses in this cycle of Apoc Shadow are reruns of 2 bosses we've seen before, Cocolia with Jeopard as well as Kafka on the other side of the ring. The weakness of Cocolia is Fire, Lightning, Wind, and Quantum, and has a total of 2.8 million HP in her 2 phases. While for Kafka they are Physical, Fire, Wind, and Imaginary, and she has 3.3 million HP in her 2 phases. Be aware that both of these bosses have traits that transfer their weaknesses to their summons, so you definitely want to be focusing on them. The buff this time for Ruinous Embers is similar to ones we've seen before. It triggers when the main boss is weakness broken, and it dispels control states for all allies, recovers their skill points, and activates their ultimates, as well as increases all allies' HP restored by 50%. Now for the individual team buffs. On Cocolia's side, we have Call of Dawn. Increases Memo Sprite's weakness break efficiency by 50% and ignores 20% of the target's defense when Memo Sprite deals damage. Baron of Life. When characters attack weakness broken enemies, all dots currently applied to the enemies will immediately deal damage equal to 80% of the original damage. This effect can trigger a max of 2 times on each character in a single turn. And finally, Sweeping Force. Increases the crit damage of ultimate damage dealt by 30%, with an additional increase of 30% against enemy targets that are weakness broken. Now for Kafka's side, the buffs are Crimson Tide. Increases physical damage dealt by all allies by 50%. When a unit uses a skill, restores 20% of that unit's HP. Turn of Luck. Follow-up attack damage dealt by characters ignores 15% of the enemy target's all-type resistance and can also reduce the toughness of targets that do not have the corresponding weakness, with the effect being equivalent to 50% of the original toughness reduction from the ability. Rhyme Piercer. Increases all enemies' break damage taken by 10%. After breaking an enemy's weakness, increases all allies' speed by 20% for 2 turns. As for the boss traits in this patch, as far I can tell they are identical to how they've been for both these bosses in previous versions. Now finally, for Pure Fiction. On the first side, the featured boss at the end of waves is Argenti, with his usual roses assisting him as summons. The recommended types for this fight is Physical and Ice. And on the other phase, we have the return of True Sting with their juvenile Sting summons and some black tide-eroded blades in reserve, with the recommended elements for this side being quantum, and imaginary. As for the surging grit buffs this time around, the grit value this time around will be mainly accumulated through performing ultimate attacks on as many enemy targets as possible. The concordant truth buff and surging grit buffs are as follows. After an enemy target is defeated by any unit, all allies gain 1 stack of resound. And when entering surging grit, consume all resound. Each stack of resound deals 1 instance of a set amount of damage to a random enemy target. During surging grit, increases enemy targets' damage taken by 50%, and after they are defeated by any unit, all allies additionally gain 1 stack of resound. When resound stacks up to 10 or higher, consumes all resound stacks and deals 1 instance of a set amount of damage to a random enemy target per stack. Moving on to the 3 selectable buffs for each team, you have the choice of universality. During surging grit, all allies' speed increases by 40%. When all resound is consumed in an attack, recover 1 skill point. After allies use skill to attack enemy targets, every enemy target hit additionally accumulates 3 grit value for allies. Next up is Paradox. All allies can also reduce toughness when attacking enemies that don't have the corresponding weakness type, with the effect equivalent to 50% of the original toughness reduction value. This cannot stack with other toughness reduction effects that also ignore weakness type. During surging grit, the break damage received by enemy targets increases by 30%. After allies attack enemy targets, every enemy target that becomes weakness broken additionally accumulates 3 grit value for allies. And finally, Divine Score, after consuming Resound to deal damage, increases all allies' damage dealt by 60% for 1 turn. That wraps up this breakdown for the latest Endgame modes. If you found this helpful, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more Honkai guides and content. Got your own team comps, strategies, or thoughts? Drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear how you're tackling this cycle. And if you're into shorter form content, check out my TikTok. The link's down in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Trailblazers, make sure to stay sharp out there.